I genuinely felt like the world had ended. I genuinely felt like that.
It's Monday morning, and I'm in the yard, standing next to the 926. On Saturday of last week, I told you about the parts we needed to order for this to get it back to its former glory. This panel, we need the latch. So we can see a latch here, which locks in, and the latch is missing from here. Liebherr have sent a drawing, and I believe we need number 2. So we can lock this properly. Over here, there's a hydraulic leak underneath the pedal. Liebherr have sent us another drawing for this area. Matani's not in today, but when he is in, we're gonna strip this down and take a closer look. We don't know exactly what part we're gonna buy, and the parts have to come from Germany, so we want to be 100%. Other than that, this machine is working very well. We have no warnings on the dashboard. It no longer looks like a Christmas tree. And while we wait, Luke is going out with a driver. This project is a basement conversion in London. There's a team excavating and carrying out structural works simultaneously. Space is limited, so a conveyor belt brings the material up to a very large skip called a grab box, which is enclosed within the very lovely hoarding. The conveyor belt is turned off while we take the load to ensure the operator can use the crane and clamshell bucket without getting either damaged.
I've been sat at my desk for a couple of hours making phone calls. I exported a list of clients that were previously using us. I looked at their spend and who are not using us at the moment. Sometimes out of sight, out of mind. It's not a bad thing, but sometimes when you take on people in sales who are commercial minded, they bring their contacts to the business and they contact a whole new group of people. While you hold on to some of your existing clients, there are some that slip through the net. I'm trying to spark up those relationships again, try and get some Zooms in the diary and get some catch-ups. We're coming up to Christmas. It's less than 10 weeks away. Christmas time's a time to catch up, but you need to get in there early and put those meetings in people's diaries. I can see Ben is just arriving back with a 13-tonner. Unfortunately, it's come back from hire. Once it gets it off, Liam is going to have to take some pictures, have a look around it, and see the level of diesel so we can work out if we need to invoice the client or not.
Time now is 6:10. I've had an addition. I have had a charging station fitted in my car, which should be connected so I can charge this at all times and never miss out on the radio transmissions. I also have this because I don't want to be holding the walkie-talkie while I'm driving. Give that little test. Terry, do you read me? Over. Terry, do you read me? Maybe he's got the volume turned down. Anyway, that should fit in there. And it has done. And I have this, which I can clip on here. Riding along in my automobile. I hear something. I pick up the radio. Over and out. Alpha Bravo Sierra Oscar. They respond, I hear it, I'm finished. I put it back here, and when I get to my destination, I take it out and I leave the rest of the bits in the car. Now I'm a bit alarmed that it's not charging. I'll have to take a look at that, but it is most definitely hardwired. So this looks like a case of having the gear and no idea. I'll have to take a look at that tomorrow, and that's it for Monday. It's Tuesday morning and I'm in the yard. Still giving a bit of attention to the 926. We changed the oil in both the final drives. Bit of an update on St. Lucia. Click here to watch a video where I talk about the property development in St. Lucia, which I'm planning on doing in the future, but far too busy to try to attack it at the moment. I am going for a pre-app, not planning. Basically, we've created a new site layout with some elevations to show the planning officers what we are proposing, so they can have a look at it and either say, yeah, or say, hey. This is not official planning. This is just guidance. Now, I know you're going to say,
Daniel, you like to push the boundaries.
But we've gone for 10 stories. It was 5 or 6, and we've changed the scheme. We had 3 apartment blocks. We've now changed it to 4, and we've increased it significantly. And because of the increase in the amount of units we're going to have, we now need to have parking underneath, which made us bring it even higher. We haven't worked out the details of the internal layouts, but for sure there are definitely going to be a lot of 1-bedrooms, because Airbnb is massive now in St. Lucia, with backpackers traveling and people who just want to spend some time alone. In a couple of weeks, we'll know what planning say, and we'll take their feedback and advice, and we will adapt the plans and prepare for a full planning submission dependent on what we are told. Regarding the train, which I have been talking about, and how we are now going to put the train on the main track. The company who are transporting it, they've said that once they offload, which they can do on the slab if we build a ramp of type 1, after that point they can't actually push it into place for us. So we are going to use the loading shovel, and we are going to push the train backwards towards the buffer, and then we're going to have scotches which sit on the rail and stop the wheels from rolling forward. Not that the train would have rolled forward, but it's best as a safety measure to put those in place. And that will be the plan for the train for the time being, and then we'll revisit in the future. You just saw Ollie reversing to load cement. We're now going out with Ollie to see how he gets on his concrete pour. This is delivery of dry, lean concrete. Basically concrete without any water, so just sand, stone and cement. Before leaving, Ollie pulls over to check the lorry and wash it out. It's really important to do this and ensure as little concrete as possible forms on the equipment, as it can damage and cause blockages. This machine has come back from hire, and unfortunately the glass on the door is damaged. We need to remove all of the existing glass and seals first. Then we can fit a new piece of glass before the machine can go back out on hire. Well, that was the plan, but the door is so badly bent the glass cannot be fitted, so we need to call out an engineer to take a look. It's Wednesday morning and I'm in the yard. I've taken a walk to have a look at the stocks of Type 1 because there are collections booked on and I don't want us to run out. It doesn't look like we are going to run out, but I was trying to forecast to see if we needed a train in the next 2 weeks. I want to diminish the stock we have a bit so we keep slightly less in stock, so we can make a little bit more room for the screenable and the 6F5, which is behind me. Been a little bit quiet this week because I told you on Monday that I was out trying to drum up some sales. Everybody that I used to deal with book on all of their loads and send lorries out to do their work. A lot of them weren't working with us anymore for whatever reason. Maybe somebody gave them a better offer. Sometimes in a company, people want to deal with a particular person, and when they can't, then they don't use you anymore. For whatever reason it was. Monday was a scary day. Monday was the lowest revenue that I've seen us make in as long as I can remember. We were 85% down, and we had a number of lorries that were parked up by 11 a.m. Called around to some of my friends and said, can we do a couple of loads for you? And everybody was in the same position. Some people were saying,
I've got lorries out, but they're not making any money. I prefer them out than working in the yard.
But it was a dire day, and the truth is, it scared me. So I had to do something proactive. I ain't gonna sit there and feel sorry for myself so the video team can play the violin music in the background. And today, all the lorries are out working, thankfully. We pay our drivers bi-weekly. So the entire time I had an eye on the wages, which is gonna be on Friday. We needed to generate the revenue in order to keep up with our obligations, payment plans, and wages and diesel, insurance. Thankfully, the lorries are now out working, but one day like that can hurt. If I'm honest, looking at the economy and the jobs we've priced and the confidence in the market, I can't really see a recovery till March of 2025. Got to remember, Christmas is upon us. January, February, people will start to mobilize, and then I think that March it will be busy. We've got to batten down the hatches and do everything we can to generate revenue and save money and keep our existing client base. As part of drumming up the business, I opened a can of worms. If you remember, a long time ago, we did training for our drivers for the mineral and products card. When we go to certain quarries, the drivers have to scan this, or when we're working for particular hauliers. Well, we're going to be working with a new haulier, so I had to confirm the drivers who are still with us who have the card, and onto our tablet system, I had to download a new app which they use, and now I need the drivers to do a bit of e-learning because you need to present the information to them in a particular way, and if you don't get paid, and then they won't get paid off their client, and then they're not going to use you for that much longer. So I'm just working on that at the moment. Simon's helping me through it, asking the guys for pictures of their cards. They can actually log in to their system to check their own information, but somehow everyone's forgot their password. I guess it's not something that people log into regularly. Now I can see a couple of lorries coming in. We have plenty of type 1 to load and go out. Let's try and diminish this stockpile and get some more trains in here. Ah, it's Ollie. Hello, Ollie. That isn't Ollie. It's Ollie's lorry. Someone else is in it. Let's get a couple of concrete lorries loaded and some third parties loaded with some type 1. We've had a delivery from Liebherr. It's the service kit for the 566 loading shovel, which we're going to start immediately, and the service kit for the 914, which we are going to tackle afterwards. There's now another development in the saga of collecting our train. When the movement order was submitted, the police have now got involved, and they have said that they're going to provide an escort which changes the price of the transportation by about another 2.5 grand. Now, while that seems reasonable, let's have it right. The train is a fun project. Call it a vanity project if you like. I'm into trains.
Are you not into trains?
We're already paying to have it transported here, and then there's another 2.5 grand banged on top of it. Really and truly now isn't the right time to be messing around and allocating resources to transporting our train, but the company who have it, they're not going to hold it for us indefinitely, and I don't want to lose it. So I've asked the company to go back to the police and get a full quotation, because they just gave a rough indication of what it would be. So when I know exactly how much it's going to cost, then I'm going to make a decision which may not be a popular one or the decision that I want to make, but you know, I have to really take into account all the circumstances and where we are. And Luke is about to go out with another driver. Let's see how he gets on. Meanwhile, back at the Ashville yard, I was talking about QR codes a few weeks back, trying to work out which QR codes would go where. and I said that I didn't want the QR codes which were on social media platforms for either myself or Ashville, because somebody who scans it may not necessarily know about our social media digital footprint, so I wanted it to be slightly more professional. When I began doing that, it then developed further, and then I thought, hold on a minute, we need one for construction, we need one for aggregates and concrete, we need one for plant hire, and I need one personally. It is now sorted. We have one for each entity. Meds has made them in black and white, so depending on the background surface they're going to be on, we can use different ones. So I'm now looking for a company who can print these for us, but we're going to need ones which are the same quality as the artwork on the side of the lorries and the plant and machinery, otherwise it's just going to come off straight away. On the Ashville aggregates and Ashville concrete vehicles, we're going to have this QR code, which will take you to this link. On the machines, plant hire, we're going to have this barcode. And on the construction vans and the signs outside the construction sites, we'll have this QR code. And I was trying to think of which one I was going to have on the new signs for the front gate, but I think I'm just going to keep it simple. That way, when people would like information on the company, as long as they're not going near a HGV when it's working, there are clear signs on the side of the lorry that say to keep away from it. They can just put their phone up to it and they can get as much information as they need. And now we continue with the work at the refurbishment project on the bespoke staircase.
And engineers arrived at the yard to try and straighten the door on the machine. Unfortunately, it's so badly twisted, he's going to need to take it back to their workshop. It's 6:53. Last concrete lorry has just got back, loading cement. We have a decent day for concrete tomorrow. We have a delivery at about 11 a.m, so it's crucial the lads refill now, and in the morning around 6 o'clock when Flo gets here, they'll do sand and gravel, and then they'll be out on the road as early as possible. The catch came for the 926 so we can lock the panel, but we didn't get a chance to do it because we were finishing off the work on the 566, which is now good to go. We push on at the refurbishment project. We had the elevation drawings come through for the kitchen. We're getting to that point where the units are going to be finished fabrication, but we haven't had the thumbs up from the client yet with the stone samples that I showed you a couple of weeks ago. So it's beginning to bottleneck a bit, but you know, it is a massive decision, so we are waiting patiently. Lastly, a job which we priced for a good client of ours. They are specialist products, ones which we'd have to import on the train. They are not available locally. The client was unsuccessful in their tender. Well, they weren't unsuccessful. They won part of the work, but they didn't win all of it. Now, they told me the name of the company who were successful in winning the tender, and we know them also. Now, I felt really bad for our client, but I asked them, I said, the company that won it, we know them. Would you mind if we approach them and price it also? And he's a good guy, so he said,
Somebody's got to get the work. If you don't do it,
these lights are so bright.
if you don't do it, someone else will. At least give them a price.
So I feel really bad for our client. I've been in that position plenty of times, but you know, he's given us the go-ahead to and there's no guarantee that we're going to win it with this other contractor, because they have their favorite suppliers, which we know of already, who are local. So I'll get involved and give a price and make it a race to the bottom. And that's it for Wednesday.
It's Thursday morning and I'm in the yard at my desk, still trying to drum up some revenue. Had an email come back from the company who are going to transport our train. They tried to get a quotation from the police, and the police have said they cannot give a quote because they're not sure how long it will take. Roughly it will cost 2k, but because it depends on what's going to happen on the day and how long it's going to take, they can't guarantee anything, which basically means that the clock could just keep ticking, like being in a taxi and being in traffic. I hope that's not the case, but the company transporting it have come up with a solution. At Porterbrook, there's another unit which needs to be moved, and they're asking the other party if they'll split the cost with us, so we go 50-50 down the middle. So at the moment, it will cost us $1,000 extra each. If something happens on the day, it could cost us a lot more. I don't want to pay more money to do this because it's not going to generate any revenue, but my hands are more or less tied. You've seen us doing the staircase at the refurbishment project this week, but while we're doing the staircase, the work continues in the rest of the house.
On the pitch wall of the garage roof, we're fitting decorative roof tiles. Inside the garage, we continue with the central heating and hot water system. Chris is working on the priority demand valve. This is part of the fire system and means that in a worst case scenario, the supply of everything other than the sprinkler system will be turned off. In the master ensuite, to assist with tiling the ceiling, we've built a temporary frame structure from 4x2 timber. At floor level, we cut and prepare the tiles to fit together like a puzzle. We apply adhesive to the ceiling and the tile, then slide the tiles into the temporary frame. We fit the tiles to the ceiling and use a spirit level and packers to hold the tiles in place for a minimum of 12 hours. Meanwhile, back at the Ashville yard. Ben has just got back to the yard with a 1.8 ton excavator for which the hire has ended. You saw the problems that we had a couple of weeks back with our silo, which was a complete nightmare. I never want this to happen again. So I've had a breakdown of all the items on the silo, and I need to decide what is next day and what takes us a while to get, because I'm going to need to keep the parts in stock. This is the motor that we changed. So we have motor, and the screw is inside here. Let's show the lovely graphic that we used a little while back. And this is the gearbox, and is a 6 to 7 week order time and costs about 1,800 quid. I was thinking I would just buy one and I could use them for all of them. But you can't do that because all of them are completely different. If this goes down, we are bang in trouble. We can't load lorries and there is no way out of it. So I've asked the company that supplied us with the motor to give us a price for these gearboxes, and I think we're going to have to buy them and just sit them down to protect us just in case the worst is going to happen. But prevention is better than cure. On another note, my mum is going to be extremely pleased. I do not have a hard copy yet, but here it is. Your boy is in a rail publication. There's an article on the new railhead and my plans for the future. The head of distribution in St. Lucia has already requested multiple copies. I have asked to send me as many as they can, but I'll probably get 3 or 4. I need to keep one for myself, and then my mum will get the other 2, and she will have to decide on the distribution in St. Lucia, or my mum's going to have to bring it to people in St. Lucia, which sounds like it's going to cost me a flight. Let someone read it and then take it to someone else, because my family still want hard copies. They are not fancying reading online. Friday morning and I'm in the yard. Time is 7:30 and thus far it's already been a very busy day for collections. Third parties are flat out coming in, collecting type 1 and delivering to site. We have a little bit of a problem on the 914. There's a leak on one of the hydraulic hoses that looks like it's been pinched. We have a bigger problem, the state of the grille on the cab, but I can't even be bothered to go into that. When we do service the machine, we'll try and straighten it all up so it looks a lot better. But we have a company coming in now to change the hose because it was leaking so much that we actually just had to top up the hydraulic fluid. Getting out there and trying to get some sales in has actually helped. All the lorries are out working today, which is fantastic. Today's the day that can become crunch time if you don't have enough revenue generated to pay all your obligations. I'm going to keep on it. Some other stuff that I was working on is going on the back burner because the main focus at the moment is sales and generating revenue. And of course, safety, keeping the lorries safe on the road. Speaking of which, the third-party tyre team are in and they are doing repairs and changing over tyres on lorries.
Time is 9:57 p.m. I'm just finishing up in the yard. Earlier, we had an issue with our invoice financing facility where we had a few clients who were trading over their credit limit. Now, that is not the client's fault. That's our fault. And there are a number of systems in place to stop that. One, our system should have stopped us booking any jobs on. Two, it should have been flagged on our accounting system. Because of this, the invoice financing company, they did a reconciliation, and the money which we were going to draw down today, they took the whole thing. Now we have supplier payments to make, and we had wages to pay. And at 2 o'clock, they told us we weren't getting any money. At that point, I genuinely felt like the world had ended. I genuinely felt like that. Like the world has ended. I want the earth to swallow me whole. This is the worst thing in the world that could possibly happen. Saner heads prevailed. I began working with the team. The main client, they are very accommodating. They work with us a lot. So we called them and told them, look, you're trading over your credit limit. All our credit limits are backed by insurance. If you can pay to bring it back down to your credit limit, then we can get your credit limit increased so it doesn't happen next time. And we are aware it's not your fault because we should have told you at the time, but we didn't. We're in a little bit of a predicament. And they paid within the hour. And the money landed at 4 p.m. and everyone was paid. But for me, any problem, even that problem, I always feel that there's a solution, but the feeling that you get from cash flow and not having the money to pay, it is the worst feeling in the world to me. It almost feels like your body is going into shutdown Like it just, like everything is just, like everything's, someone's flicked a switch and everything's turning off. I can't afford the luxury for myself shutting down because I have to find a solution, which we did. But it was awful, man. Anyway, on a lighter note, Ben from Seaver Rail popped by and look what he brought me. No, this is nothing to do with being a Viking, and this isn't to make bread on one of those old stoves. This is a stopper for the wheels on our new train when it arrives. So one end will have the stopper to block it, and then these will go on the track, and you just hold it and kick it in underneath the wheel, and these act as a handbrake and keep it in place. Look at that. Bet these have got some history. So that was a nicer end to the day. I then stayed behind to watch Weekly, which is episode 210, which is over an hour, so it took me a long time to watch it and make notes. I'm gonna go home, it's 10:01, and I'll be back in the morning. That's it for Friday.
Saturday morning, and I'm in the yard. It's not that busy. There are not that many lorries out, but as always, there's plenty to do. Most of the tippers are loaded, but they are not loaded with material from the Ashville yard. We're on a job at the moment where we're taking hazardous material up to Wolverhampton and Scagness. And there's comments on some of the videos and some DMs which have come in with people seeing our lorry saying,
What on earth are you doing all the way up here?
it is a hazardous material that can't be tipped anywhere in London. While it is a long way and it does burn a lot of diesel, we are paid accordingly. Run around in the day and try and do our normal loads. And we head to that site around 3 o'clock. We load up. Then we leave the yard at 6 a.m. We make our way up there. And when we come back down, get loaded up again to go and tip again in the morning. So as long as that work is on, we'll be loaded every day at the end of the day. We just need to box clever a little bit in case we need to leave maybe 1 or 2 locally if we need to collect sand or gravel. But we're at the moment, it's working for us, and it's bringing in revenue, which is what we want. Going to drop the flatbed and load this 13-ton machine, but we're not going to tie it down. Ben likes to tie it down himself, but Ben isn't in on Monday, so I'm not sure who Terry has got in the roll-on, roll-off crane lorry, but whoever it is, we prefer them to secure the load and double-check it before they leave the yard. Not saying that anyone in the yard won't secure it properly, but it's better that they have the peace of mind because they are the ones who are going to go on the road with it. Flo's just going to spin it round now, because we want the blade to be at the front of the flatbed. It's very tight on the machine when we have to get these 13-tonners on. Terry's out in the roll-on, roll-off on Monday. It's going to Ivor. Oh, is that why you asked if I could drive it? You're saying you're putting me out in a lorry?
That time we got something used for that. Because normally it's just headaches and heartaches.
It's full of jokes. And here we go again. Throwing money into the ground and tracking over it. My lovely 6F5, what we could sell and generate revenue. Got to use it to fill all the holes in the yard to make sure we have hard standing. To be honest, this is a lot cheaper than having to replace the springs on the lorries.
Saturday evening, the time is 7:43. I have a document which lists all of our clients, and it tells us when they last spent. And I'm going through this one by one. I'm removing people from here, which people within Ashville already deal with, and I'm removing some other companies who are kind of, you could say they're competition, but maybe they wouldn't consider us competition, but we do work for them also, and sometimes they help us out and do work. I'm going through and deleting those, and I've come to the realization there is far too many companies on this list for me to email. I'm at RE, and I'm at line 2,520. It's taken me near enough the entire day, but I am going to get through this list because on Monday, there'll be an immediate list of people which I'll email, which I saw in here and thought to myself, hold on a minute. I know these people personally. These people have been working with us since I was more involved, and why are they not using us? I think the question is, why don't I know that? But you could argue that you can't be everywhere at once, and circumstances change, people change. I'm looking at the list here, and of all of these clients, I don't know how many of them are still in business, how many of them still work within the areas where we provide service, but I'm going to find out. And I am going to stay on this document until I finish, but I'll split it up. So some of the emails are going to go out from me personally if I have spoke to the person in the past or work with them directly. And unfortunately, the rest, I'm going to have to do one of those annoying emails. You know, those ones that land in your inbox.
Why is this company emailing me if I don't care what they're doing?
It's going to be one of those ones because, otherwise this could get out of hand. If all these people were to email me back, I wouldn't be able to process or cope with any of this. Although it would be a good problem to have. But then what would happen if they all came back? We'd end up letting them down, or I would end up letting them down because I couldn't get back to them in time and I couldn't book everything on. So I'm going to finish this, work it out, and spend tomorrow also preparing for Monday. And that's it for Ashville Weekly, episode 212.
Tell me how far you can see. Tell me when. To here, yeah? And everything else I had to do was put on the back burner while I concentrated on getting those lorries out again, those Larrys, you know.
Drop you in. Oh, no. No, it's still not working. Hey, right, we're in.
Here, we're changing one of the ram supply hoses. Blasted dogs, man. There are something with the brakes we need to change, some of the oil there. Other than that, the 556. Other than that, the 566. Oh.
Click here for the Ashville website. Click here to subscribe to our channel. Click down here to see an Ashville video you may not have seen before. And click down here for last week's episode, which was number 211. And no doubt Friday has added a load of outtakes that make me look very silly.